Sleep deprivation, alternatively referred to as sleep insufficiency or sleeplessness, is a health condition characterized by the lack of sufficient or quality sleep, leading to impaired alertness, performance, and overall health. This condition can be categorized into acute and chronic sleep deprivation, both varying in the level of severity. Acute sleep deprivation lasts 1 to 2 days, in which the individual either sleeps less than usual or not at all, frequently extending for longer periods without any external influences. On the other hand, chronic sleep deprivation is a habitual pattern of inadequate sleep, leading to inefficient functioning. Often, chronic sleep deficiency is mistakenly equated with insomnia, despite having a distinct difference. While both conditions lead to reduced sleep quantity and quality and compromised function, individuals suffering from sleep deprivation can quickly fall asleep when given the opportunity, whereas those with insomnia struggle to do the same. Adults typically require a minimum of 7 hours of sleep to maintain good health, though factors such as age, pregnancy, and the level of sleep deprivation can affect this amount. Neglected sleep is known to result in weight gain, high blood pressure, diabetes, depression, heart disease, and strokes. Moreover, sleep deprivation may induce anxiety, irritability, inconsistent behavior, cognitive impairment, and even psychotic episodes. A chronic state of limited sleep negatively impacts brain and cognitive functionality. In rare instances, sleep deprivation can unexpectedly cause heightened energy and alertness levels. While the long-term implications of this paradox have yet to be thoroughly investigated, sleep deprivation has been utilized as a depression treatment method. Few studies have explored the disparity between the impacts of acute total sleep deprivation and chronic partial sleep restriction. Long-term total sleep deprivation, rare among humans, is generally documented in the cases of fatal insomnia or post-surgical complications. This condition leads to brief, unavoidable microsleeps. In lab animals, it has even caused demise. Insomnia, classified as one of the 6 types of dysomnia, is common among 37 of adults. Its symptoms, such as excessive daytime tiredness, sleep-related frustration or worry, concentration or memory issues, extreme mood swings, decreased energy or motivation levels, poor academic or occupational performance, and physical discomfort like tension headaches or stomach aches are quite identifiable. The detrimental effects of insufficient sleep are cumulative, meaning that any lost sleep accumulates over time, potentially leading to sleep deprivation. This can manifest in symptoms such as excessive daytime sleepiness, difficulty concentrating, and restlessness. Healthy, well-rested individuals typically spend less time in the REM stage of sleep, with studies indicating that less REM sleep correlates with more alertness during waking hours. An exemplar of serious sleep disorders is sleep apnea, blending symptoms typical of both insomnia and sleep deprivation. Typically caused by the upper airway collapsing during sleep and restricting airflow to the lungs, sleep apnea is associated with gasping or choking upon waking, morning headaches, and irritability. This condition affects between 1 and 10% of Americans and poses considerable health risks if untreated. Recommended treatments include positive airway pressure therapies such as CPAP, continuous positive airway pressure, APAP or BPAP devices, mandibular displacement devices, and in some cases, supplemental oxygen therapy or corrective surgery. Central sleep apnea differs, as it is a result of the central nervous system failing to prompt the body to breathe during sleep. Similar treatments to obstructive sleep apnea can be used alongside adaptive servoventilation and certain medications. However, drugs like opioids may exacerbate or even cause central sleep apnea. Bizarrely, sleep deprivation can also be self-induced, either through a reluctance to sleep, habitual use of stimulants, or in attempts to break records. Consuming large amounts of caffeine, for instance, can disrupt sleep cycles. While caffeine can provide short-term performance improvements, overconsumption could potentially result in or worsen pre-existing insomnia. Using caffeine to stay awake can lead to sleeplessness, anxiety, frequent nighttime awakenings, and generally poor sleep quality. Research suggests that sleep deprivation is a widespread issue among students, particularly during their first year of college when they are adjusting to new stressors and social environments. As cited by the U.S. National Sleep Foundation, a 1996 study found that university students averaged less than 6 hours of sleep per night. A more recent 2018 study showed that college students who averaged 8 hours of sleep during finals week scored higher on their exams than those who didn't alarmingly. Up to 27% of students could be at risk for at least one sleep disorder. These studies underline the direct correlation between sufficient sleep and academic performance. One research by Estevan et al. Demonstrated that students typically sleep less the night before an exam, with those who do get more sleep seeing a positive correlation with their exam performance. The Department of Psychology at National Chung Cheng University in Taiwan also investigated the matter and found that freshmen experience the least amount of sleep during the week. School start times are another factor impacting student sleep patterns. Research has consistently shown the benefits of later school start times on adolescent sleep, health, and learning. However, there is no evidence to suggest that early start times bring any positive impact. A 1997 study from the University of Minnesota found that students who started school later, at 8:40 a.m., achieved higher grades and got more sleep than their counterparts with earlier schedules. It's alarming to note that 1 in 4 youth, high school students admitted to falling asleep in class at least once a week. Meanwhile, sleep patterns also undergo significant changes during human adolescence. Electroencephalogram (EEG) studies indicate a 50s reduction of deep sleep and a 75 reduction in the peak amplitude of data waves during adolescence. These changes often clash with early school start times, resulting in inadequate sleep for many teenagers. In hospital settings too, patients often experience sleep deprivation, particularly in intensive care units (ICU). A study conducted across the Netherlands found general ward patients slept less and experienced more nighttime awakenings compared to sleeping at home. Factors such as noise, medical devices, and pain were seen as sleep disruptors. Given the diverse personal characteristics and clinical conditions of hospital patients, solutions for improving sleep should be individually tailored and implemented within the realms of each hospital ward's possibilities. This could include various interventions aimed at aiding patient characteristics, improving hospital routines, or enhancing the hospital environment. In industries requiring 24/7 operations like airlines and hospitals, workers often through alternating shifts, a work pattern that often triggers sleep deprivation. This sleep deprivation can lead to poor focus, severe fatigue, and general health problems. Sadly, this issue seldom gets discussed amongst the stakeholders and has become a silently escalating challenge for industries, often resulting in increased occupational accidents. The risk factor is not just on the fatigued workers alone, but to everyone within their immediate environment. Both employees and employers must seriously tackle the encroaching risk of occupational fatigue and sleep deprivation in order to reduce related work injuries. Studies carried out through neuroimaging have revealed that prolonged sleep deprivation, even up to 35 hours, can majorly impact the brain's aptitude in maintaining emotional equilibrium and responding adequately to events. This kind of sleep deprivation tends to dampen alertness and cognitive abilities, with major changes observed in the thalamus and prefrontal cortex areas of the brain, which are essentially associated with attention, alertness, and advanced cognitive processes. Detailed testing on 17 men in their 20s, as part of a research carried out in the United States in 2000, confirmed these reductions in brain functionality due to steady bouts of sleep deprivation. Furthermore, fMRI and graph theory indicate that the implications of sleep deprivation apply consistently to night owls as well as early birds, irrespective of their varying sleep chronotypes. Nonetheless, groundbreaking animal study by the University of California in 2002 pointed out the vital need for non-rapid eye movement sleep (REM) for temporarily halting neurotransmitter activity. This allows their receptors to recuperate and heighten sensitivity, thereby ensuring effective regulation of mood and improved learning ability. Interestingly, this study suggests that deprivation of rapid eye movement sleep (REM) could be seen as a natural method of tackling clinical depression. Much like the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors used in treating depression, REM sleep deprivation prevents a decrease in the concentration of certain neurotransmitters, recompensing the deficits typically seen in clinically depressed individuals. The importance of sleep cannot be underestimated. Sleep provides the vital downtime needed for our cells to recuperate from the damage they accumulate over the course of our waking hours, especially from harmful reactive oxygen species and DNA damages during periods of prolonged sleep deprivation. This damage builds up to a critical point which can trigger cellular degeneration and even cell death. Particularly detrimental is the deprivation of REM sleep, which leads to increased production of noradrenaline, a stress hormone. This, in turn, increases the activity of a certain pump in our cells that instigates a process known as apoptosis, a form of programmed cell death. This escalation potentially exacerbates the cellular damage. However, non-REM sleep stages may provide respite for this process, allowing enzymes to repair brain cell damage. Evidence of the deleterious effect of sleep lack at the cellular level is complemented by observable effect on our cognitive abilities. Specifically, there's a considerable link between sleep deprivation and attention and memory deficit. Impaired attention can lead to lapses in routine tasks, which could result in forgetting to add an ingredient when cooking or missing out a sentence during note-taking. But it's not just such everyday situations where the effects of sleep deprivation can be dramatic. Insufficient sleep can lead to critical incidents like car accidents and industrial disasters attributable to a lack of alertness. Objective measurements of attention were taken using the Psychomotor Vigilance Task, PVT, where the participants were required to respond to random light signals. What's particularly intriguing is the disconnect between a person's subjective impression of their fatigue and actual performance. While people who are completely sleep-deprived are usually aware of their impairment, chronic sleep deprivation can lead to an accumulation of attention lapses equivalent in severity to those seen in acute sleep deprivation. However, chronically sleep-deprived individuals often perceive themselves as less impaired. This subjective assessment could give rise to a dangerous overconfidence in their ability to perform tasks requiring sustained attention. The theme of this passage is the correlation between sleep patterns, mood, and how sleep deprivation can lead to dangerous situations, such as road accidents or even disasters like the Exxon Valdez oil spill. The influence of sleep deprivation on mood varies based on one's chronotype. Morning individuals, or larks, tend to experience increased depression, whilst evening individuals, or owls, usually display an improved mood post-sleep deprivation. The state of our mental health also impacts sleep, with increased stress or anxiety potentially leading to sleep disruptions. The perils of sleep deprivation become starkly evident in driver fatigue-related accidents. According to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, driver fatigue contributes to 1 in every 5 severe road accidents, leading to countless tragedies each day and year. To avoid the risk, they advise pulling over for a brief nap to fend off drowsiness. Research has further revealed startling analogies between sleep deprivation and inebriation. In a study published in 2000 by the British Medical Journal, it was reported that drivers who were awake for 19 hours performed comparably or worse than those with legal alcohol concentration in their blood. Performance tends to deteriorate after 16 hours of being awake, and at 21 hours, resembles someone with the legal alcohol limit for intoxication. Many countries have recognized this risk and implemented regulations to minimize fatigue-induced road accidents. This includes guidelines on break durations, shift lengths, and time allowed between drives. The devastating Exxon Valdez oil spill in Alaska serves as a striking example of the repercussions of severe sleep deprivation and fatigue. After the 2010 Deepwater Horizon incident, it is the largest oil spill in the U.S., resulting in catastrophic environmental damage. Over 10 million gallons of oil was spilled due to the crew's fatigue caused by sleep deprivation. The ship's captain was asleep due to exhaustion after an 18-hour shift with heavy drinking. The rest of the crew also suffered from fatigue owing to inadequate sleep. This led to the terrible accident, causing damage which is still being felt till this day. The research suggests that adults between 18 to 64 years must ensure they are getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. Failure to get sufficient sleep can lead to debilitating impacts on a person's mood, cognitive ability, and motor functioning because it disrupts the sleep-wake cycle. Recent scientific studies have illuminated the crucial role of the hypothalamus and various neural systems in maintaining circadian rhythms and homeostasis, thus strengthening our comprehension of sleep deprivation. The reference model for sleep regulation identifies 2 critical processes. Process S, the sleep impetus that intensifies during wakefulness and subsides during sleep, and Process LIZ, the biological regulator. Of these levels with sleep deprivation, this balance gets disrupted and our waking functions begin deteriorating. Microsleep is another result of chronic sleep deprivation, where an individual might catch brief, usually around 15 seconds long, Naps, particularly when engaged in tedious tasks, such as driving or reading. In these micronaps, individuals are unaware of their unconscious state. Surprisingly, such fleeting bouts of sleep were also noticed in rats kept awake for extended durations, which seemed almost awake despite these sleeping periods, but failed to perform well in tests. The importance of maintaining healthy sleep habits isn't merely limited to cognitive function. Insufficient sleep is associated with severe cardiovascular risks. The American Heart Association recognizes sleep deprivation as a contributing factor for adverse cardiometabolic profiles alongside commonly recognized risk factors. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention observed that adults with under 7 hours of sleep regularly are more prone to chronic health conditions, including heart attack, coronary heart disease, and stroke. Research involving over 160,000 adults demonstrated an increased risk for developing cardiometabolic risk factors in individuals self-reporting less than 6 hours of sleep per day. Symptoms of insomnia did not alter the adverse effects of sleep restriction, as shown by this study. Finally, the United Kingdom Biobank study involving nearly 500,000 adults revealed that those with less than 6 hours of sleep were 20 more likely to develop myocardial infarction, MI, across 7 years. Interestingly, the risk was high even for individuals with a sleep duration exceeding 9 hours a night in essence. Maintaining a balanced sleep schedule is integral for overall health. Insufficient sleep not only deprives one of a refreshed state of being, but also disrupts the body's vital processes, negatively impacting health in numerous ways. Firstly, lack of rest means inadequate time for the body to form essential immunological memories, thus potentially diminishing the effect of vaccinations. It also makes individuals prone to infections and increases their susceptibility to common illnesses like cold and flu. Furthermore, the healing process for patients in the ICU may be delayed due to sleep deprivation. The disruption extends to hormone balance as well, playing a crucial role in weight management. Sleep deprivation elevates ghrelin, hunger hormone, and suppresses leptin, satiety hormone, sparking an increased appetite, particularly for high-calorie foods. It also disrupts growth hormones and increases cortisol levels, both of which are linked to obesity. Additionally, those lacking sleep are often too fatigued for physical activity, further contributing to weight gain. Conversely, the condition of obesity can impair sleep quality with conditions like obstructive sleep apnea, GERD, depression, asthma, and osteoarthritis, escalating sleep disruptions. Interestingly, studies in rats indicate that while complete sleep deprivation heightens food intake and energy expenditure, it leads to weight loss and eventually death. In human societies with easily accessible high-calorie food, however, chronic sleep deficits might increase appetite without a corresponding rise in energy expenditure, tipping the balance towards weight gain. Sleep deprivation's potential role in development of type 2 diabetes is a significant concern. Preliminary observations indicate that people experiencing temporary sleep restrictions may process glucose more slowly than individuals getting a full 8 hours of sleep, suggesting a potential risk of developing the disease. While it is acknowledged that sleep deprivation affects insulin, cortisol, and oxidative stress, playing a role in blood sugar levels, it's not entirely clear how these factors interplay. Note that higher levels of ghrelin and lower levels of leptin, consequences of sleep deprivation, not only increase food cravings but also raise blood sugar levels, thereby increasing the risk of obesity and diabetes. A 2005 study showcased a correlation between habitual sleep shortages and type 2 diabetes, while an earlier study demonstrated that such sleep restrictions can result in impaired glucose tolerance. However, definitive causation between sleep deprivation and diabetes is still uncertain. Research conducted in 2004 discovered that medical professionals who slept less than 4 hours a night were prone to making double the mistakes of those who achieved over 7 hours of sleep, a group amounting to just 11 of those surveyed. Consequences of sleep deprivation reach beyond the medical sphere, encompassing areas such as academic performance and physical activities. Prolonged periods of wakefulness and sleep loss can result in decreased cognitive ability, impact task selection, and reduce participation in activities demanding focus and coordination. Sleep deprivation can produce symptoms akin to psychosis, distorting perceptions and prompting inappropriate emotional and behavioral responses. Astronauts have reported performance issues, cognitive impairment, and sleep loss due to disturbances in circadian rhythm and environmental factors. Research also suggests that an elevated heart rate or tachycardia can be triggered by a single sleep-deprived night. Commonly seen physical manifestations encompass hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations during sleep and wake transition periods, and periorbital puffiness, colloquially known as eye bags. Patients may present complaints such as fatigue, drowsiness, and cognitive difficulties, signifying sleep insufficiency, which could go unnoticed unless specifically addressed by health professionals. Evaluation of sleep patterns, including bed and wake times, frequency of naps, and shift work, can help to identify causes of sleep deprivation. The quality of sleep should also be discussed to discard any possible related medical conditions like obstructive sleep apnea and restless leg syndrome. To assess sleep quality and patterns, sleep diaries and questionnaires can provide in-depth information. Actigraphy, a wrist-worn device, is an effective tool that records movements and uses algorithmic analysis to evaluate sleep latency, total sleep time, sleep efficiency, and wakefulness after sleep onset. This tool can also detect light exposure in specific models, offering an objective analysis, complementing self-reported diaries or questionnaires. Long-term forced sleep deprivation is often treated with cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBI, following the elimination of potential physical conditions like sleep apnea. CBI consisting of cognitive therapy, stimuli control, sleep restriction, sleep hygiene, and relaxation, delivers measurable and meaningful improvements in adults. Preferred over drug therapy due to its minimal side effects and long-term benefits, this approach is combined with strategies to increase alertness, such as caffeine intake for short periods, napping, other stimulants, and prophylactic sleep before deprivation. Notwithstanding these measures, the safest method to battle sleep deprivation is simply to increase the amount of sleep. However, on an ominous note, sleep deprivation can serve as a tool for abuse and interrogation. It can disorient victims, priming them for control and manipulation, and has even raised questions of whether its usage in interrogations constitutes torture. An example of such usage include interrogation techniques where the subject is forced to stay awake for days and interrogated upon falling asleep. Noteworthy personalities like Menachem Begin, former Prime Minister of Israel, have shared their experiences of sleep deprivation as a prisoner, likening the desire to sleep as insurmountable even by hunger and thirst. In the 1970s, sleep deprivation was utilized by the British government, a movie that the European Court of Human Rights recognized as inhumane and degrading, but failed to classify as torture. Controversies are concurrent in the U.S. as well, where, despite memos released by the country's Justice Department in 2002 outlining the usage of sleep deprivation in the interrogation of a terrorist, spokespersons during Obama's administration revoked them. The debate regarding sleep deprivation's classification as torture continues, with opinions divided. While Australian Federal Attorney General Philip Ruddock in 2006 claimed it does not amount to torture, organizations like Amnesty International vehemently oppose this viewpoint, terming it cruel, inhumane, and degrading, if not torture outright when used for extended period. The effectiveness of relapse prevention can be boosted through the coalescence of various treatments, including sleep deprivation, combined with medication or light therapy paired with the phase advance approach, which involves altering regular sleep patterns by retiring to bed much earlier. There is increasing evidence providing support for the connection between mood and sleep, as seen through the use of tricyclic antidepressants that suppress REM sleep and tranylcypromine that has been observed to totally inhibit REM sleep when given in suitable doses. Short-term sleep deprivation can be employed as an intervention for insomnia. A number of prevalent sleep disorders have shown an affirmative response towards cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which is a collective set of strategies involving stimulus control therapy, sleep restriction therapy, SLRT, and sleep hygiene therapy. These therapies aim to reestablish the natural need for sleep and promote apt sleep efficiency. The main objective of both stimulus control and sleep restriction therapies is to cultivate an association between being on the bed and sleep. Although sleep restriction therapy exhibits effectiveness as part of cognitive behavioral therapy, its effectiveness as an independent therapy remains unproven. Additionally, sleep hygiene therapy is designed to guide patients towards developing and persevering with good sleeping habits. However, as an isolated therapeutic approach, it doesn't prove to be quite beneficial unless it is bundled with stimulus control therapy and sleep restriction therapy. When medical solutions are required in treating insomnia, four major approaches are in use, predominantly involving barbiturates, benzodiazepines, and benzodiazepine receptor agonists. Barbiturates often remain a secondary option due to their low therapeutic index, while melatonin agonists reportedly pose a higher therapeutic value. Notably, sleep deprivation is a technique that has found use in military training programs to prepare personnel for combat experiences when maintaining a consistent sleep schedule isn't feasible. This involves creating an irregular sleep schedule that surpasses the standard 24-hour cycle. As part of training exercises like Keep in Memory, personnel practice memorizing every possible detail under extremely stressful physical and mental conditions while dealing with sleep deprivation. This method notably contributes to the creation of soldiers who can function efficiently on a few hours or even minutes of sleep whenever available. Analyzing records and data has shown very little change in sleep patterns of the average adult American between 1965, 1985, and 1998, 2001, as collected by the Bureau of Labor Statistics' American Time Use Survey. The median amount of sleep and rest has only decreased by less than 7, from 482 minutes per day to 479 minutes. This narrative also explores remarkable instances of sleep deprivation. Randy Gardner notably holds the scientifically documented record for the longest time a human being has consciously stayed awake without external stimulants. Garner remained alert for an astonishing 264 hours, superseding the previous record of 260 hours held by Tom Rounds. In a quite extraordinary feat, Maureen Weston holds the Guinness World Record, staying awake for a remarkable 449 hours during a rocking chair marathon event in April 1977. Unverified claims of extended sleep deprivation have been made. However, some cases of partial sleep deprivation have been well documented, such as Rhett Lamb, who suffered from a rare condition. He could only sleep 1 or 2 hours a day during the initial years of his life due to a rare abnormality named Arnold-Chiari malformation, where the brain tissue protrudes into the spinal canal. An intriguing report from French sleep expert Michel Jouvet illustrated a 27-year-old man suffering from Morvan's fibrillary chorea, experiencing extreme insomnia for 4 months. Despite being subjected to severe insomnia, the psychological assessment showed no sign of cognitive deficits, apart from some hallucination. Lastly, the fatal insomnia, a neurodegenerative disease, leads to a total loss of the ability to move past stage 1 of REM sleep and culminates in death between 7 to 36 months. Patients often manifest symptoms such as panic attacks, paranoia, phobias, hallucinations, rapid weight loss, and dementia.